Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 16 articles for you. All the URLs are in the description of the video. The first article I have is off of foxnews.com, and it says, North Korea launches multiple ground-to-ship missiles, South Korea military says. Launched several projectiles believed to be short-range surface-to-ship cruise missiles from its east coast on Thursday, according to South Korea's military. North Korea fired multiple unidentified projectiles assumed to be surface-to-ship missiles this morning from a vicinity of Wonsan, Gangwon. South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff, JCS, said, according to the Yonhap news agency. The JCS said the South Korean military has beefed up surveillance and vigilance against the possibility of additional provocations, maintaining full preparedness. The statement said the launches were immediately reported to South Korean President Moon Jae-in, but gave no further details. The missiles fired Thursday traveled about 120 miles, according to the South Korean military. The latest provocation came less than a week after the United Nations Security Council passed a new resolution expanding sanctions against the country as punishment for its missile tests. North Korea conducted ballistic missile tests over 3 consecutive weekends in May, going back to Mother's Day, but last weekend there were no launches. The remote country is on pace to break its record-setting 2016 missile test launch record. The latest missile tests come as South Korea suspended its use of the American-based missile defense system THAAD. It puts THAAD deployment on hold. The Terminal High Altitude Defense System THAAD has already been in operation in southeastern South Korea with 2 launchers and radar. The system typically has 6 launchers, 4 of which are in South Korea but have not yet been to be installed. South Korea's new president, Moon Jae-in, said his office was not briefed on the arrival of 4 new launchers and ordered an investigation. He also demanded an environmental assessment on the deployment site, saying the country's defense ministry might be attempting to avoid an environmental inspection there. Each launch by the DPRK further demonstrates the rationale and necessity of the U.S.-ROK alliance agreement to deploy THAAD. State Department spokesman Heather Nauert said that battery to the Korean Peninsula will improve U.S.-ROK joint missile defense posture and enhance our defensive capabilities. Representative Adam Smith, the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, called South Korea's decision a blow to our national security interests. That South Korea is not sure of the U.S. commitment because of Trump's America First. We need to stand as a counterbalance for other countries, and this is a bad sign, Smith said. I have not seen North Korea back down, he added. If they get nuclear-capable missiles, they will threaten and hold sway without. On May the 14th, premiered a powerful new mid-range missile that it said could carry a heavy nuclear warhead. Experts at the time said that the rocket flew higher and for a longer time than any other missile previously tested by North Korea, and that it could one day reach targets as far away as Hawaii and Alaska. There are about 28,500 U.S. troops in South Korea as a deterrent against potential aggression from North Korea. It's off of Liberty Writers, and it says, well, as soon as it gets up here, it says he's innocent. What NSA director just said about Trump proves he won't be impeached. Lost one of their biggest leads on the Trump during their public hearing today, and now they are all freaked the heck out. The moment of truth came when Senator Warner asked NSA Director Mike Rogers if he had ever been pressured by Trump to drop the Russian investigation, papers said. Admiral Rogers has never been asked or pressured by a U.S. president to do anything inappropriate, Rogers told the Senate committee. In 3+ years, I have been the director of the National Security Agency. To the best of my recollection, I have never been directed to do anything I believe illegal, immoral, unethical, or inappropriate. And to the best of my recollection, during that same period of service, I do not recall feeling pressured to do so. How does this single testimony save Donald Trump from impeachment the Dems have been pushing for? Well, it's simple. If you combine Admiral Rogers' testimony today with the new claim that James Comey will not be claiming Trump obstructed justice, the answer becomes clear to all. The president is doing a fine job. Donald Trump was right to call for their trial, a witch hunt. First it was Russia, then it was nepotism, then obstructing justice. None of their claims hold water. So share this out. The next article is off of Newsmax. It says, report, Sessions offered to quit amid rift with Trump on Russia. And as soon as we get it to scroll up here, sounds a little bit like there's some trouble in paradise. We'll get this to scroll up. We'll see what it has to say. Okay, it says Attorney General Jeff Sessions recently suggested resigning amid increased tensions with President Donald Trump as former FBI Director James Comey's Senate testimony nears, according to the news reports on Tuesday. The rift apparently stems from Sessions' recusal in March from the Justice Department's Russian investigation, sources told ABC News. The Attorney General reportedly told President Trump of his decision only minutes before he announced it, the sources said. Multiple sources say the recusal is one of the top disappointments of his presidency so far, and one the president has remained fixated on, ABC News reported. In addition, Trump's anger over the recusal has not diminished with time. Two sources close to the president say he's lashed out repeatedly at the Attorney General in private meetings, blaming the recusal for the expansion of Russian investigation, which is now headed by the special counsel and former FBI Director Robert Mueller. Further, sources say the frustration runs both ways, prompting the Attorney General's offer to step down, according to the report. Comey is scheduled to testify on Thursday in public session before Senate Intelligence Committee. Justice Department spokesperson Sarah Perez declined to comment on the ABC News report. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer declined Tuesday to say whether Trump still had confidence in Sessions. That discussion with him, Spicer told reporters at the daily briefing. When pressed further, the spokesman responded, I said I have not had a discussion with him on the question. I don't. If I haven't about a subject, I tend not to speak about it, Spicer said. The next article is off of Liberty Writers. It says Obama spy scandal. Nunes just said the 5 words that will wreck Obama. House Select Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes had 5 words during a recent interview on the John Batchelor show about Obama administration unmasking scandal rocking Washington. And there's some video in this. It says, this is only the beginning. The committee just named 3 top Obama officials in subpoenas during their investigation into the unlawful unmasking of Americans close to the Trump campaign before and after the 2016 election. Those officials were former UN Ambassador Samantha Power, former CIA Director John Brennan, and former White House National Security Advisor Susan Rice. Representative Devin Nunes initially broke the news about top Obama administration officials potentially abusing power several months ago. When the NSA collects data, the agency purposefully masks the identity of Americans to protect them from unlawful supervision. 3 named Obama administration officials allegedly requested that identities of people on the Trump team be unmasked. Nunes has claimed that they were unmasked for political reason. During the interview Monday, Nunes reiterated that it was very unusual for a UN ambassador like Power to unmask an American under any circumstances, at any level, no matter where they are serving. The most interesting part is that those three named are only a few of those Nunes suspect of abusing their power, he says. There are many more officials that we have concerns about abusing the intelligence program, Nunes says. Something was definitely fishy in the allegedly scandal-free Obama administration. I am so excited for the committee to move forward, and we will be reporting on them closely, so stay tuned. The next article I have is off of the Gateway Pundit. Intel contractor sues Comey, claims FBI covered up evidence of widespread illegal spying on Americans. A lawsuit was filed late Monday night by Dennis Montgomery, alleges he provided overwhelming evidence to the FBI of illegal spying on Americans. He reported on a bombshell story by Sarah Carter of Circa News. She explained how declassified memos show FBI allegedly shared spy data on Americans with private parties. News says intelligence contractor has sued James Comey and other current and ex-government officials, alleging the Bureau has covered up evidence provided to agents showing widespread illegal spying on Americans. The suit, filed late Monday night by Dennis Montgomery, was assigned to the same federal judge who has already ruled that some of the National Security Agency's collection of data on Americans violate the U.S. Constitution's Fourth Amendment, setting up an intriguing legal proceeding in the nation's capital this summer. By Circa outside the lawsuit show that the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington in 2015 approved a grant of limited immunity for Montgomery so he could explain how he managed to walk out of his contract with several U.S. intelligence agencies with 47 hard, highly classified documents, a security breach potentially larger than Edward Snowden's leak. The documents show FBI agents interviewed Montgomery on several hours and collected the 47 hard drives. Montgomery's lawsuit, which included his lawyer, the well-known conservative activist Larry Klayman, alleges Montgomery provided extensive evidence to the FBI of illegal spying on Americans, ranging from judges to businessmen like Trump. Link to the full report by Circa News. If you want to pull that up and click on that link, it'll take you there. The article I have is off of Newsmax. It says, Rogers, Coates insist they were never pressured to do anything illegal in Russian probe. The nation's intelligence chiefs, facing questions from Congress one day before former FBI Director James Comey provides his first public account of events leading up to his firing, declined to describe conversations with President Donald Trump, but said they had not been directed to do anything they considered illegal or felt pressured to do so. Michael Rogers, the National Security Agency Director, and National Intelligence Director Dan Coates largely ducked questions from senators on Wednesday about whether the president had tried to influence investigations into Russia's election meddling and possible coordination with Trump's campaign. I've never felt pressure to intervene, interfere, or in any way shape intelligence in any way, Coates said at one point, but he later demurred when asked whether he was prepared to say that he had never been asked to influence an ongoing investigation, saying, "What I'm not willing to do is to share confidential information that I think ought to be protected in an open hearing." From Senate Intelligence Committee at a hearing on surveillance law were in response to news media reports that both Coates and Rogers had been asked by Trump to publicly state that there was no evidence of collusion between Moscow and the Trump campaign. Comey appears before the same committee on Thursday. Back hearings come as the White House grapples with the fallout from Comey's firing, which led to the appointment of a special counsel to take over the Russian investigation in an effort to prevent even the appearance of Oval Office interference. Questions about Russia's role in the 2016 presidential election and ensuing congressional and FBI investigations into Moscow's ties with Trump's associates have dogged the president since he took office. Two other witnesses, acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, declined to discuss any aspects of the Russian investigation. "We have special counsel who is investigating," Rosenstein said when asked about the memo he had written that the White House held up as justification for Comey's May 9th firing. White House officials had weighed trying to block Comey from testifying by arguing that his discussions with the president pertained to national security and that there was an expectation of privacy. However, officials ultimately concluded that the optics of taking that step would be worse than the risk of letting the former FBI director testify freely. Early Wednesday, Trump announced his pick to succeed Comey at the FBI, who is Christopher Wray, a former Justice Department official who served as New Jersey Governor Chris Christie's lawyer during the George Washington Bridge lane closing investigation. The Republican chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Senator Richard Burr of North Carolina, said he would focus Wednesday on reauthorizing a key portion of the U.S. surveillance law that is set to expire later this year. Trump has consistently pushed back against suggestions that his campaign coordinated with Russia and has called the investigation a hoax. One of Trump's sons repeatedly that claimed Tuesday in an interview with ABC News, Eric Trump, said the allegation that his father's campaign colluded with Russia is great hoax of all time. Let's get another batch of articles up here. Has something to do. Hamster busy. Just about got them up here. Okay, the first one I have is off of Newsmax. This one's off of Newsmax. It says, Comey, Trump told me I need loyalty. I expect loyalty. Well, so far I don't see anything wrong with that. Let's see. Here. Get the hamster to get it up here for me. FBI Director James Comey will tell the Senate Intelligence Committee on Thursday that President Donald Trump asked him to pledge his loyalty and to end the agency's investigation into former National Security Advisor. And then it jumps, of course. According to his prepared remarks posted online Wednesday. I need loyalty. I expect loyalty, Comey said Trump told him in his prepared remarks posted on the website of Senate Intelligence Committee. Speak or change my facial expression in any way during the awkward silence that followed. At each silence, he continued, describing his January 27th and Trump at the White House. The conversation then moved on, but he returned to the subject near the end of the dinner. The full text of Comey's 7-page remarks can be read at a link here in this article if you want to click on that. There it says, regarding the Flynn probe, I brought up the topic in a meeting at the Oval Office that followed a counterterrorism briefing. He's a good guy, and he has been through a lot, Comey said. Trump said to him during the conversation. This article would hold still. I feel like I'm chasing it. seems to be at a standstill here. Thanks. An ad. Were alone after the president waved at chief of staff to close the door, saying he would be done shortly. He repeated that Flynn hadn't done anything wrong on his, but had misled the vice president, Mike Pence. Flynn had resigned the day before over concerns about his disclosures to Pence about his Russian contacts. He then said, "I hope you can see your way clear to letting this go. He's a good guy. I hope you can let this go," Comey said in a statement. Only that he is a good guy, Comey said in the remarks, adding that, "In fact, I had positive experience dealing with Mike Flynn when he was colleague at the Director of Intelligence Agency of my term at the FBI. I did not say I would let this go." Comey's testimony is scheduled for public session before the Senate panel chaired by Republican. Well, and chicken or feathers is jumping all over the place here. By Republican Senator Richard Burr of North Carolina. Virginia Democratic Senator Mark Warren is the panel's vice chairman. Testimony also follows that of 4 intelligence chiefs, Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, who testified on an extension of surveillance methods on Wednesday. Comey's prepared statement comes from the notes he said he felt compelled to document, beginning after his first meeting with Trump on January 6th when he was president-elect. Creating written records immediately after one-on-one. There goes jumping again. Written records immediately after one-on-one conversations with Mr. Trump was my practice from that point forward, Comey said, and this had not been my practice in the past. He noted he spoke with former President Barack Obama twice in person and never on the. In neither of those circumstances did I memorize the discussions. I can recall 9 one-on-one conversations in 4 months, 3 in person and 6 on the phone. 2 other meetings with Trump, the dinner meeting January the 27th and 15th Oval Office session, and 2 telephone calls March the 30th and April the 11th. On May the 9th. Do so if circumstances, well, now wait a minute. It jumped, so let me back where it belongs here. Dead burn hamsters just having seizures. Well, he's running. I've not included every detail from my conversation with the president, Comey said in the remarks, but to the best of my recollection, again, that's what this thing does. To the best of my recollection, I have tried to include information that may be relevant to the committee. Leading up to Trump Tower meeting, Comey said he had discussed with other intelligence officials whether I should be prepared to assure President-elect Trump that we were not investigating him personally. That was true, Comey. We did not have an open counterintelligence case on him. We agreed I should do so if circumstances warranted. Comey said he and other intelligence officials would be briefing Trump on salacious and unverified information in the Russian dossier about Trump that was to be leaked to the news media that could be seen as some effort to compromise an upcoming president. by disclosing the information to the president in hopes the hope was to such effort with a defensive briefing. During our one-on-one meeting at Trump Tower, based on President reaction to the briefing and without him directly asking the question, assurance he was not personally under investigation on Russia, Comey said in the statement. After the January dinner meeting, Comey said Trump began asking me, or try that again, asking by charm, let's try it again, began by asking me whether I wanted to stay on as FBI director. Comey said he found the question strange because he'd already told me twice in earlier conversations that he hoped I would stay, and I had assured him I intended to. My instincts told me that the one-on-one setting, pretense that this was our first discussion about my position, meant the dinner was, at least in part, an effort to have me ask for my job and create some sort of patronage relationship. That concerned me greatly, given the FBI's traditionally independent status in the executive branch. Trump work and intend to stay and serve out my 10-year term as director. And then, because the setup made me uneasy, I added that I was not reliable in any way. Politicians use the word, but he could always count on me to tell him the truth. I added that I was not on anybody's side politically and could not be counted on in the traditional political sense, a stance I said best interest as the president. Trump brought up the loyalty issue twice during the dinner, Comey said, and he ended his comments with the term loyalty. It's possible we understood the phrase honest loyalty differently, but I decided it wouldn't be productive to push it further, Comey said in the statement. The term honest loyalty had helped end a very awkward conversation. Had made clear what he should expect. February 14th meeting in the Oval Office included Attorney General Jeff Sessions and White House Senior Advisor Jared Kushner, all to leave before broaching the Flynn investigation. I had understood the president to be requesting that we drop any investigation of Flynn in connection with false statements about his conversations with the Russian ambassador in December, Comey said in his remarks. Understand the president to be talking about the broader investigation into Russia or possible links to his campaign. I could be wrong, but I took him to be focusing on what had just happened with Flynn's departure around his accounts of the phone calls. Regardless, it was very concerning. FBI's role as an independent investigative agency. Comey said he did not report the conversation to those beyond his immediate FBI leadership team or Attorney General Sessions, who we expected would likely recuse himself from involvement in Russia-related investigations. Sessions recused himself 2 weeks later, March the 2nd. Keep it held, resolving to figure out what to do with it down the road as our investigation progressed, Comey said. The investigation moved ahead at full speed with none of the investigative team members or the Department of Justice lawyers supporting them aware of the president's request. He said he approached Sessions shortly afterward and sought to implore him to prevent any further direct communication between and me. He said he told Sessions about when Trump asked the Attorney General to leave the Oval Office while he remained behind, and it was inappropriate and should never happen. Reply, Comey said of Sessions. Telephone conversations, Comey said Trump called him seeking the cloud and get out the word he personally was neither under investigation on Moscow or involved in any of the activities alleged in the Russian dossier. He repeatedly told me, we need to get that fact out, Comey said Trump told him in the March 30th call. I responded that we were investigating the matter as quickly as we could and that there would be great benefit if we didn't find anything to our having done the work well, Comey said he told Trump. He agreed, but then re-emphasized the problems this was causing him. He reported the call to Justice Department officials, but did not hear back from them before the president called him again 2 weeks later on April the 11th. Trump asked him to get out information. He was not personally under investigation. He said he told the president he had passed on the request to justice officials, but I had not heard back. The cloud was getting in the way of his ability to do his job. President Trump said he would have his people reach out to department officials, said Comey. I'll try this again. President Trump said that he would have his people reach out to department officials, and Comey said that was the way it should be handled. I said the White House counsel should contact the leadership of DOJ to make the request, which was the traditional channel. He said he would do that and added, because I have been very loyal to you, very loyal. We had that thing, Comey said Trump told him. I did not reply or ask him what he meant by that thing. He said in his remarks, I said only that the way to handle it was to have the White House counsel call the acting deputy attorney general. He said that was what he would do, and the call ended. That was the last time I spoke to President Trump. The next article is off of Newsmax. The hamster's running here. It says CNN says Comey expected to refute Trump. Let me get the article up here where I can read it. Okay, fired FBI Director James Comey will testify to Congress on Thursday that he did not tell President Donald Trump multiple times that he is not under investigation, CNN reports. That is at odds with the president's own words to Comey in the letter he wrote firing him on May the 9th. I greatly appreciate you informing me on 3 separate occasions that I am not under investigation, Trump wrote. Comey will tell the Senate Intelligence Committee that he never gave any such assurance because it would not be proper to do so. Familiar with Comey's testimony told CNN. Comey's agency was investigating possible ties between Russian government and members of Trump's staff before his firing, but one CNN source said Comey will offer no conclusions about that probe as a fact witness. Comey and Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller met to discuss how much Comey could say to avoid tainting the probe Mueller now leads. It is not clear, CNN reported, whether Comey will read from memos he wrote after Trump or whether he will give Congress. In one memo that has been leaked to the press, Comey wrote that Trump told him probed former his probe of former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's role. I hope you can let this go. Comey said his personal opinions of Trump don't matter to his investigation, but has said Trump's request for him to back off investigations made him uncomfortable. Still, CNN noted Comey did not see any individual insistence as Trump doing anything that could be seen as obstruction of justice. Rather, he viewed them as instances of the political neophyte not realizing what he was asking was improper. And Comey reportedly believed Trump was capable of being a means of communicating with him. Whether those instances taken together would amount to obstruction, up to others to decide. At the end of this, will some people jump up and down and say obstructing offense? One source said. That's a political judgment. The next article is off BizPac Review. Spicer responds to reports Trump will be live tweeting and has unexpected message for Comey. Response many expected from President Donald Trump. Former FBI Director James Comey's impeding testimony before Congress, White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer said the president might not even watch. That statement flew in the face of reports that the president would be live tweeting during Comey's testimony on Thursday. Going to have very, very busy day, as he does all the time, and I think his focus is going to be on pursuing the agenda and the priorities that he was elected to do, Spicer told reporters on Tuesday. Video in this article if you want to pull it up to watch Sean Spicer. He said that President Trump has a session first thing in the morning on infrastructure with governors and mayors, and then has to do a speech for a conservative political conference. And when the reporters caught up with President Trump, he gave a surprising response when he was asked if he had a message for the former FBI director. He says, "I wish him good luck," the president said. The next article is off of Liberty Headlines. It says, food stamps drop 85% in Alabama after work requirements reinstated. 13 Alabama counties experienced some shocking results, or maybe not, depending on your natural level of cynicism, when they decide to once again require able-bodied food stamp recipients without dependents to be employed and or engaged in a job training program in order to participate in the program for more than 3 months over a 3-year period. As background, Alabama, like many states, lifted their work training requirements associated with food stamp benefits after the Great Recession. That said, starting January the 1st, 2017, the last of Alabama's 13 counties reinstated those requirements, and they promptly experienced an 85% decline in taxpayer-funded food subsidies per AL.com. 13 previously exempted Alabama counties saw an 85% drop in food stamp participation after work requirements were put in place on January the 1st, according to the Alabama Department of Human Resources. During the economic downturn of 2011 through 2013, several states, including Alabama, waived the SNAP work requirements in response to high unemployment. It was reinstituted for 54 counties on January the 1st of 2016, and for the remaining 13 on January the 1st of 2017. As of April 2017, the highest jobless rate among the 13 previously excluded counties was in Wilcox County, which reported a state-high unemployment rate of 11.7%, 7 percentage points from the county's jobless rate for the same month of 2011. As of January the 1st of 2017, there were 13,633 able-bodied adults without dependents receiving food stamps statewide. That number dropped to 7,483 by May the 1st of 2017. 13 counties, there were 5,538 adults ages 18 to 50 without dependents receiving food stamps as of January the 1st of 2017. That number dropped to 831, a decline of about 85% by May of 2017. Statewide, the number of able-bodied adults receiving food stamps in Alabama fell by almost 35,000 since January 1st of 2016. Meanwhile, with each recipient receiving about $126 a month of benefits, that equates to over $50 million in annual savings for taxpayers based on just the state of Alabama alone. The next article, Liberty Headlines, it says, conservatives demand Congress stay until health care is done. The conservative House Freedom Caucus demanded Tuesday evening that Congress advance a partial repeal of Obamacare and take action on tax reform, or else cancel the August recess, a break that sends lawmakers home for an entire month. The House narrowly passed a health care reform bill in May. GOP senators subsequently said they would write their own bill, and in the last week, those efforts have stalled. We need to work through August recess to get everything done, Freedom Caucus Chairman Mark Meadows, Republican of North Carolina, told reporters Tuesday after he exited the group's meeting. We believe that we need to stay through August to get through tax reform and get our appropriations done. Following the meeting, the House Freedom Caucus released a statement adding, "The House Freedom Caucus has taken an official position in support of the House staying in session through August recess to continue working to accomplish the priorities of the American people." The caucus included in its press release the group's personal mission statement saying, "The House Freedom Caucus gives a voice to countless Americans who feel that Washington does not represent them. We support open, accountable, and limited government, the Constitution and the rule of law, and policies that promote the liberty, safety, and prosperity of all Americans." President Donald Trump Tuesday to encourage sluggish members of Congress to move on the key legislative items. The Senate, I'm sure, will follow suit and get a bill across the finish line this summer that will be great health care for Americans. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. So, looking forward to seeing it, Trump said during one of the meetings he took part in with Republican lawmakers on Tuesday. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican of Kentucky, told reporters following the meeting with Trump that we're getting close to having a proposal to whip and to take to the floor. There are 52 Senate Republicans, and the party can only afford to lose 2 votes on the health care bill. Vice President Mike Pence can break a tie. During Tuesday's press briefing, White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer admonished Congress for their tardiness and pointed to Anthem's Tuesday announcement that the insurer would be exiting the Obama in Ohio, leaving 19,000 Ohioans without any options. The American people have been saddled with a bill for Washington's inability to get this disaster taken care of, and it's simply not right for them to have to pay it any longer, Spicer said. Now that Congress is back from Memorial Day recess, we really look forward to carrying on with the agenda, Spicer said, adding, "We just don't have time to waste." The next article is off of Free Beacon. And while it's loading up here, let me grab some more articles. And finger a clicking. Oh, okay. It says Obamacare architect says healthcare law absolutely needs to be fixed. Up here. Ezekiel Emanuel, an architect of the Affordable Care Act, admitted during an appearance on CBS This Morning on Monday that Obamacare absolutely needs to be fixed. Obamacare needs to be fixed, or you, one of the architect's co-host Gail King said. "Oh, absolutely," Emanuel said. "We've had consequences from the Affordable Care Act. We've had problems that were in the bill that we couldn't solve before it got enacted, and it's been around for 7 years, so some of the problems have become obvious." Continued by saying any corporation that would enact a change like this, constant adjustments. It is not the first time that Emanuel has admitted things that need to be fixed with the health care law. Emanuel wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post in August acknowledging that there were issues and then included a 5-pronged plan to fixing them. However, he has also tried to downplay issues with the law by saying that increasing premiums a big increase. Denial to me, but hey. This article up here. This is off of Newsmax. Spinning. Trump to nominate Christie's Bridgegate lawyer to head the FBI. Get it to scroll up. Working on it here. Trump on Wednesday announced his pick for FBI director, a former Justice Department official, served as New Jersey Governor Chris Christie's, and it jumped. I'm going to have another jumping bean here, it looks like. Okay, during the George Washington Bridge lane closing investigation, Trump's early morning two-sentence tweet that he intends to nominate lawyer Christopher Wray came one day before the FBI director that Trump fired last month, James Comey, was to testify in public on Capitol Hill for the first time since his dismissal. Trump called Wray a man of impeccable credentials and offered no more information about the selection, ending the tweet by saying, "Details to follow." Urged from a list of former prosecutors, politicians, and law enforcement officials interviewed by Trump since Comey's firing. Wray is a litigation partner with King Spalding in Washington, D.C., chairs a unit representing entities and individuals in white-collar criminal and regulatory enforcement issues, civil litigation, and internal corporate investigations, according to the law firm's website. He represented New Jersey Governor Chris Christie in the Bridgegate case. Aides were convicted of plotting to close lanes at the George Washington Bridge to punish a Democratic mayor who wouldn't endorse the Republican governor. Hanging over Christie was about a dozen text messages he exchanged with a former staffer during the legislative testimony by officials from Port Authority of New York manages the bridge in 2013. It's not known what was in those messages, and defense attorneys attempt to subpoena the phone last summer. After that ruling, Christie's office revealed that Wray had the phone. Previously said he gave it to the governor a while earlier, but the U.S. Attorney's Office said it never had the phone. The law firm that Christie's administration hired to review the scandal said it returned the phone after reviewing its contents in response to a government subpoena. Christie informally advised Trump was not charged in the Bridge case. Christie and Wray met when Christie was the top federal prosecutor in New Jersey in the Bush administration. Christie said at the news conference last week that he worked together with Wray a lot. "I have the utmost confidence in Chris. He's an outstanding lawyer. He has absolute integrity and honesty. I think that the president certainly would not be making a mistake if he asked Chris Wray to be the FBI director," Christie said. Wray, a Yale Law School graduate, headed the criminal division of the Justice Department from 2003 to 2005 under President George W. Bush. There, he helped handle corporate fraud scandals, served on the Bush Corporate Fraud Task Force, and oversaw major fraud investigations, including that of energy giant Enron. Coordinate the agency's response to the September 11, 2001 attacks. Comey, who was appointed FBI director in 2013 by President Barack Obama, was fired by Trump last month amid mounting scrutiny of ties between his campaign and Russia. With a strong law enforcement background, Wray is a traditional choice for the job. Trump had entered current and former politicians for the role, including former Connecticut Senator Joe Lieberman. Though favored by Trump, Lieberman would have faced a challenge confirmation process his name from consideration. The announcement came just one day before sacked FBI Director James Comey gives highly anticipated testimony on Russia's interference in the 2016 U.S. elections and with Trump's campaign. Comey is expected to dispute Trump's claim that then FBI chief told him multiple times that he was not under investigation. CNN reported citing sources familiar with Comey's thinking. House and its allies have been looking for ways to offset that potentially damaging testimony and have been working on strategies aimed, and it jumped, at undermining Comey's credibility. Ray served in a leadership role in the George W. Bush Justice Department, rising to head of the criminal division and overseeing investigations into corporate fraud during the time when Comey was Deputy Attorney General. Ray took charge of a task force of prosecutors and FBI agents created to investigate the Enron scandal. Comey, during his appearance before the Senate Intelligence Committee, is expected to describe his encounters with Trump in the weeks before his firing, May the 9th. New details regarding discussions with Trump about the federal investigation into Russia's election meddling and possible coordination with the Trump campaign. Ray works in a private practice and Spalding law firm. He represented Republican Christie in the lane closing investigation. Former Christie aides were convicted of plotting to close the bridge lanes to punish a Democratic mayor who wouldn't endorse Christie. It's off of Newsmax. Judge Napolitano says Ray Pick exposes rift between the DOJ and the White House. Judge Andrew Napolitano said the choice of Christopher Wray to be the next FBI director exposes a little bit of a rift between the Department of Justice and the White House. The Fox News analyst said Wray, a former DOJ official in the George W. Bush administration, brings impeccable credentials. However, Judge Napolitano told that the choice also surfaces some discord between President Donald Trump and his Attorney General. This also indicates to me a little bit of a rift between the Justice Department and the White House, because this is not somebody that can be interviewed by Jeff Sessions or Rod Rosenstein, Napolitano said. Meanwhile, all the people that the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General interviewed on Saturday and Sunday at the president's instruction, Ray was not on the list. The president decided to make that decision on his own, irrespective of what his team at the Justice Department advised, Napolitano told Fox News. Napolitano also called irrelevant defended New Jersey Governor Chris Christie over the Bridgegate incident that ended in conviction for 2 of Christie's top aides. There's a drawback here that I'm sure Democrats will exploit, that is Bridgegate, Napolitano said. Felt he did a great job there, but open up. That, in my view, is irrelevant to his qualifications to be director of the FBI, but you can certainly expect it. Other early reactions to the nomination of Ray on social media have been mostly positive, and there's a list of those tweets if you want to pull them up and read those for yourself. See if we can get past those. Yeah, that's the end of it with all of those tweets. The next article I have is off of Breitbart. Texas leads 16-state coalition in support of the travel ban. Leading a 16-state coalition, the Texas Attorney General filed a brief with the U.S. Supreme Court on Monday supporting President Donald Trump's temporary travel stay. Attorneys General from 14 other states and the governor of Mississippi joined to urge the nation's highest court to reinstate the executive order. State officials urged that President Trump was acting within his lawful authority given to him by Congress when national security, foreign affairs, and immigration policy judgments require him to exercise it. Last month, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit affirmed a lower district court's order blocking the executive action. As reported by Breitbart News, the 67-page opinion of the court was issued on May the 25th. The 10-3 decision upheld the halt of the executive order by the federal district court in the District of Maryland. The U.S. Department of Justice filed a petition for writ of certiorari on June the 1st, asking the court to decide whether the president acted within his authority in issuing the 90-day temporary travel ban from 6 terror-prone countries. The Supreme Court took the rare step on June the 3rd, as reported by Breitbart News, in expediting the review of the case. The executive order is tailored response to a very real threat to our national security, Attorney General Ken Paxton said in a statement obtained by Breitbart, Texas. A temporary pause on the entry from countries with heightened security concerns is necessary to shore up our nation's vetting procedures. The president is fulfilling his solemn duty to, or try that again. The president is fulfilling his solemn duty to protect Texans and all Americans. The states of Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Florida, Kansas, Louisiana, Montana, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, West Virginia, and Mississippi, Governor Phil Bryant have joined the state of Texas in filing the friend of the court brief in the U.S. Supreme Court. A summary of the arguments made in the brief are as follows. The district court's injunction of President's temporary suspension of entry for specified classes of non-resident aliens is remarkable. The injunction was issued despite three long-standing doctrines limiting the availability of judicial remedies for disagreement with policy decisions like the executive order here. First, the Constitution does not apply extraterritorially to non-resident aliens abroad seeking entry. And this court has specifically recognized that there is no judicial remedy to override the executive's use of its delegated 8 U.S.C. S. 1182F power to deny classes of non-resident aliens to enter into this country. Second, the order must be accorded the strongest of presumptions and the widest latitude of judicial interpretation because it is in the U.S. Supreme Court's opinion of Youngstown first zone of executive action pursuant to congressionally delegated power. Third, the court has long accorded Third, the court has long accorded neutral government actions a presumption of the validity of good faith. Actions can be invalidated under a discriminatory purpose analysis only if there is the clearest proof of pretext. This long-standing and acting standard for judicial scrutiny of government motives has been recognized by this court in multiple types of constitutional challenge. Institutional roles by precluding courts from engaging in a tenuous judicial psychoanalysis of a drafter's heart of hearts. Moreover, they urge, plaintiffs cannot satisfy this court's enacting standards for showing that the executive order is pretext masking a religious classification. The order classifies aliens according to nationality based on concerns about the government's ability to adequately vet nationals of 6 covered countries who seek entry. Not only that, but these 6 countries covered by the order were previously identified by Congress and the Obama administration under the Visa Waiver Program as national security countries of concern. The order is therefore valid as it provides a facially legitimate and bona fide reason for exercising 8 U.S.C. S. 1182F national security and foreign affairs power to resist entry. The states also argued that any campaign trail statements regarding a potential future policy are far from the clearest proof required to overcome the strong legal presumption of validity, especially as to a different policy adopted by the president after he took office after conferring ranking government officials. The final article that I have for you is off of Breitbart. Department of Homeland Security John Kelly rejects H-2B program, reveals drug refugee priorities. DHS Secretary John Kelly fended off politicians' demands for more imported H-2B workers on Tuesday. telling a Democratic senior that the administration favors jobs for Americans, not for foreign contract workers. I know we already have large numbers of contract workers that come in and have been coming in over the years, but in the current administration, American jobs versus people that come in and do the work, Kelly told Senator Heidi Heitkamp from Dakota. Heitkamp had asked Kelly to accelerate the approval of H-2B contract workers sought by employers in North Dakota. Even though millions of Americans are either unemployed or have fallen out of the low-wage workforce. Each year, the government allows companies to import roughly 100,000 H-2B workers for blue-collar jobs, such as landscaping and resorts, along with roughly 900,000 H-1B, H-2A, J-1, OPT, and other contract workers for a myriad of professional and blue-collar jobs. The program is unpopular among voters because it reduces wages for seasonal and full-year employees, but it is being pushed by the GOP congressional leadership and their donors. Deal asked Kelly to authorize an extra 70,000 H-2B visas, but Kelly is signaling to import the foreign workers. Each year, 14 million young Americans join the workforce, but the federal government imports 1 million illegal immigrants and roughly 1 million contract workers, so forcing down average wages and boosting overall consumption. Kelly Heitkamp asked for visas to import foreign doctors for North Dakota towns. Nationwide, there's a shortage of doctors outside the main cities, partly because the federal government constricts the number of training slots for students at American hospitals. It's extraordinarily difficult to recruit physicians to my state, she said. Many foreign doctors use J-1 visa to gain residency in the United States, and the number of doctors. Kelly's pro-American statement was only one of several dramatic moments at the Tuesday hearing before the Senate Committee on Homeland Defense. On Haitian refugees, Kelly suggested he would cancel residency permits for 50,000 Haitians and perhaps 250,000 other foreigners living with temporary protected status in the United States after the fled various man-made and natural disasters in their homelands. Kelly told Republican Senator Jamie, or I don't know if that's Jamie or James, it's Jame, Langford from Oklahoma. Some of the Central Americans have been on status for over 20 years, and they were put on status because of a hurricane that happened over 20 years ago. I can tell you that things are going better in Central America, much, much better over the last 20 years, in many ways better. No one ever looked at it, whether that status should end, and I think that's something we have to do. It's the law. Crucially, Kelly also argued that the return of U.S.-based Haitians gain for their poor homeland. I was down in Haiti last week, spoke with the leadership, and I said, during the 6 months you, Haiti, need to start thinking about travel documents and how you're going to bring these people, who, by the way, are generally better educated, entrepreneurial would be, I think, boost to the Haitian community and social function. But at the end of it, the word is temporary unless you change that to permanent, he told Langford. Pushed for a national solution to the expanding problem of drug addiction, noting that he can only interdict the flow of drugs demanded by Americans. If we don't reduce the drug demand in the United States for heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamine, complete waste of time, he told Delaware Democratic Senator Tom Carper. The bad news for Mexico and the southwest border is largely because of our drug demand, and incredibly work has developed that stretches, frankly, from around the world, goes through the Western Hemisphere, Caribbean, and up the Central American Isthmus, Mexico, into the United States. But you know, sir, Senator, it really is all about demand reduction. Addicts. Studies tell you that, there's any population, ours included, There's certain people being addicted to something. But an awful lot of these people, from my personal experience as a kid, an awful lot of these people are starting or start doing drugs because it's cool. There's no argument against it. And suddenly they're hooked on something. Fill in the blanks. And they can get away and they can't get away from it. We have talked about this issue of how we have managed to convince people over the years, seat belts, smoking, a lot of different things. You never get to zero, but we could do a lot better. The president has got DHS, state, HHS, and the lead, ECP, Office of National Drug Control Policy. So if we could get a comprehensive drug demand strategy put together that just, it's not law enforcement, it's Hollywood, it's professional sports, college sports, the president of the United States, the Senate, everyone out there, the influencers, we can solve this problem or reduce this problem significantly. It's a holistic thing, and it's not just a CBP guy on the border. He told GOP Senator Steve Daines from Montana that restrictions on precursor drugs are a primary strategy. We've got to take much more holistic approach to this drug problem, demand reduction, rehabilitation. Certainly law enforcement plays a role in the homeland. The southwest border plays a role. Our partnership with Mexico. And here I think it gets more and more important. Our partnership with Mexico, to use the example of heroin and meth, as you say, they're cooperating with us. Just recently, 60 days, they destroyed 2 massive methamphetamine labs. Ugh. The United States Congress passed legislation, I don't know, 10 years ago, something like that, and restricted the precursor chemicals, the availability of precursor chemicals to make meth, and the cartels, as they have become more and more successful and sophisticated, said the United States wants to try to kill themselves with methamphetamine. Heck, we can do it for them. Congressional action in terms of restricting the precursors, that's preliminary, in my view, the solution to the problem. And if you want to read more about the H2B outsourcing program, there's a link at the bottom of that article that you can click that will take you to that. And that's all I have for you this morning. So if you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up, share it on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news. And don't forget to subscribe. That way you'll stay informed. Have a great day.